Let's welcome to the CJU Yieldify main stage, Senior Client Development Director, Amy Todd, and VP Corporate Development, Rachel Weinstein.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for making us your first stop after lunch. If you are looking for a session called Creating Compelling Stories to Transform Your Marketing, then you are in the right place. I am Rachel Weinstein, and this is Amy Todd, and we're going to be spending the next 25 minutes or so imparting some wisdom and some anecdotes for you about how to use data, leverage your data to transform your marketing efforts. So I joined CJ just about a year ago, and I work as a VP of Corporate Development, helping our clients achieve growth. But I'm also a prior CJ client. I actually came to the business from being at Comcast for the past 9 years, where I helped to launch their affiliate program. And a quick fun fact about me, in my first job out of college, I spent the summer chaperoning Colonel Sanders around the city of Philadelphia. So I've kind of come a long way.
Yeah. And I think we all know what to talk to you about later tonight at the bar, Rachel. I'm sure you'll get some questions about that. Hi, I'm Amy. So I'm in client development, and I'm based out of our New York office. I joined CJ a little under 2 years ago, and I came from advertiser side. I was at Nike for 5 years, where I was leading their affiliate and partnerships team in Europe, and I also spent some time in digital brand. We've both been in roles where we've been using data quite a lot, and so that's why we're here today to talk to you about how you can use data and leverage data to really create some amazing stories and transform your efforts. Rachel, before we get into it, I would love to hear a lot more around, your time at Comcast. So can you tell us how you were, in the role where you ultimately ended up launching the affiliate channel?
Yeah, I'd love to. So my introduction to affiliate was actually kind of accidental. I had joined Comcast to work in the e-tail business, which was a very high-performing channel of digital and telesales. And we rolled up under e-commerce. I worked for a brilliant chief digital officer who was laser-focused on the data. He literally had monitors all around the floor showing real-time data and KPIs. And he was tasked with taking the company through a massive digital transformation. It ended up becoming a channel exploration. And so the company had never contemplated affiliate before, believe it or not, and nor did we have any kind of resident expert. And so I was kind of voluntold that I'd be spearheading the project. I actually ended up speaking with our very own Gabrielle Hess here at CJ to help inform my business case, and the rest is kind of history.
Amazing. I love a good voluntelling. We've all had a few of those.
How about you? When did you really come to understand how critical data could be to your business?
Yeah, so for me, data has always been such a fundamental as somebody who's grown up in digital and performance. But what really got me thinking about the importance of data when it comes to marketing and marketing strategy was when I was working on digital brand campaigns at Nike. Because it was there when I saw firsthand how data would be used to fuel the brand executions. So data would fuel the insight that gave us the direction, and then we would leverage different KPIs along the way to check in as our milestones. And so, for instance, when we were working on the maternity collection, we used medical data, and we realized that pregnancy is more taxing on the human body than completing a Tour de France. So, for all your mums out there, congrats. But equally for us, what we realized, we had the brand positioning of pregnancy is an ultramarathon. And when we were brainstorming what Nike Training Club should look like for our female athletes, we came to the realization from a really compelling person called Dr. Stacey Sims that women are not small men, so why are we telling them to train like them? So, we used that to really fuel and create what, ultimately became how we, transformed Nike Training Club to be a good place for women. So how we, made decisions on the route that we were taking, that was really balancing the science of the data and the insight with, the creative ideas, the art of the creative ideas, and the culture of the company of always wanting to push the boundaries of the work.
Well, I love the concept of women not being small men. I'm aligned there. I also love this concept that decision-making is both an art and a science. And I'd add that really creating context and teasing out the story is critical to using your data effectively. And take this as a great example. We've got a male who's born in 1948. He was raised in the UK, married 2 times, who lives in a castle and is wealthy and famous. I am very intrigued. Sounds like our target customer could be King Charles. However, that data set also belongs to this gentleman, Ozzy Osbourne. And so here, I think it's really safe to say that while they have a lot in common, the way we might market to these 2 men is going to be drastically different. And so the point here is that data is not meant to be taken at face value. It is meant to be scrutinized and analyzed and really shaped into a story that will help you make effective decisions.
Yeah, but I mean, look at Ozzy with his cup of tea. I mean, I'm definitely on the same wavelength as he is with that pot of tea, so man after my own heart.
So no doubt, Amy. So we've been planning this session quite a while.
Yep.
And when we started to get together on this several months ago, I think we began to notice some very common themes around how we've seen data empowered to drive effective business outcomes. And there were so many examples that we had to choose from, right? Mm-hmm. I think one thing was clear. We saw some decisions made, very big, massive decisions, but also data leveraged against smaller optimizations. We saw a common theme, that data is bringing an undeniable credibility to help shape your story and is an effective tool to debunk, unlock, and sell in order to achieve your business goals. So what exactly do we mean by that, Amy?
Well, yeah, I mean, when we were talking about debunking, we realized that we had a lot of examples where we were challenging assumptions and, unlocking, separating facts from facts and fiction. And for unlocking, we had many, many instances where we were using data to secure more budget for our marketing initiatives. And when we were thinking about how we use data to sell, well, it was all about how you were selling new ideas, products, or services to, clients, publishers, or advertisers. So, today, that's going to be the crux of what we're talking about. Rachel and I are going to share some stories from our experience here at CJ and also when we're advertiser side. And we're going to share some ideas for you to take back to your business next week to hopefully create more engaging marketing stories.
Fantastic. So let's get into how we've seen data leveraged to debunk arguments, assumptions, and myths. Now, on a personal note, unfortunately, my teenage daughters have inherited my math gene. And what that means is there is a persistent math tutor over the years. And so recently, the 15-year-old pitched us on eliminating said math tutor. And she provided a very compelling argument. She pitched us we would be saving time commuting, we would be saving money on the expense. However, she failed to debunk this argument because she failed to disclose one key piece of critical data, and that would have been her final grade from last year. So, needless to say, I think right about now she is sitting with her math tutor back in Philadelphia after school today. But, really to bring it back to business here, Amy, I'd love to hear a little bit more about, some of your experience.
Yeah, of course. So I remember a conversation that I had earlier on in my career with a telecommunications client a few years ago. And we were really fielding questions from them around the assumption that customers referred to affiliates weren't as loyal as they believed that those customers are only really out there for a deal. And they'd leave the business as soon as their contracts were ending. Pretty sure a few of us in the room have probably been fielding similar questions. So when I was in that role, we were digging into the data and asking the questions of, what were customers doing, at the end of their contract? Were they staying? Are they leaving? How much are they spending? And ultimately, what we realized we needed to do was run a huge piece of data analysis on customer lifetime value. So that's what we did. We looked at metrics such as churn rate, lifetime spend, and we looked at that on a publisher-by-publisher level, and we also looked at that compared to other channels just to see what the differences were.
That's so familiar to me. At Comcast, we actually used CLV and churn quite a bit. In fact, when we were launching the affiliate channel, we leveraged those KPIs quite extensively. Affiliate really did enjoy being this bright, shiny new object or new channel. But there was certainly speculation that we were met with along the way, and we needed to be able to show that we could achieve top-line revenue growth, exceed those targets, but that we were also delivering quality. And actually what we found there was that affiliate was delivering the lowest churn against any other channel in the company, and that helped us to debunk the speculation and really enabled the support we needed to help scale the program.
Yeah, and it's funny that you mentioned that because when I was working on the T-Mobile account, we found the exact same thing, that affiliate was like far outperforming in terms of like metrics such as CLV. But you know, we ran that data at CJ just a few weeks ago because I wanted to challenge the assumptions that I was making and debunk myself, especially when thinking about this presentation. And what we found was that the notion of affiliate partners or affiliate customers being more valuable still rings true today. So we found that customers from affiliates were actually 16% more valuable than those coming from other channels. And when we looked at specific publishers, loyalty partners were driving 46% more value compared to other publisher models. Now, this isn't a call to action to double down all your budget and loyalty. I know James Little from Top Cashback is here and is probably going to be rallying the troops for that. But what it is a call to analyze is what customers are not only doing when they arrive to your business, but what they're how they're engaging with you after they've walked through your doors. So that was one example, and I think Rachel and I were saying we could have had like 20 examples for each one of these sections. So what we've done is we've put together a bit of a cheat sheet for all of you to take back to the office when you get back to the office on Monday of things that you can also look at. So help debunk your data and then use it to have meaningful conversations. So the first thing that we really encourage you to do is look downstream and look at the data to examine how customers are continuing to interact with your business. Check your core KPIs on a granular level because there actually might be some nuggets in there that you're not going to see on a top-level data set if you're looking at the numbers top level. And then finally, we didn't really talk about this much in this example of CLV, but one other thing that I would really encourage you to look at is understanding the differences in the audiences of each of your publishers, because you actually might find some good synergies between like what you're actually standing for as a brand today or what you might be looking for in your customer of tomorrow. So with that, let's move on to Unlock. So within our roles, Rachel and I partner really, really closely because, and what I really love about that partnership is that we get a really good knowledge sharing across, the clients that we share. And we recently were in one of these conversations, we were talking about channel measurement because it's a really relevant topic for a lot of folks in the room. And Rachel, you came to realize, there's a lot, in terms of how to unlock the potential of the channel when it comes to channel measurement. So can you share some anecdotes there?
Sure, yeah. So I think one of the biggest takeaways that I had from launching affiliate at Comcast was that the key was simply, unlocking the channel with that tireless data analysis and having the courage to lean in to test and learn. And then having an obsession with efficiency and making sure you are constantly revisiting where you've tested. And so I don't think this is only applicable to a Fortune 50. I think this can be applicable across brands and across verticals. During that transformation, while I was at Comcast, every single channel was up for inspection. From my channel e-tail to paid search, SEO, display, you name it, we were asked to really inspect our channels and understand the customer journey, understand how customers were interacting with the brand, and then also between channels. And I think my team probably spent the next quarter knee-deep in testing. And that data became the foundation. So we were able to demonstrate the ability to modernize how we were thinking about digital partnerships, deliver a brand new net channel to the business, and also have no negative impact to other channel sales. And the key here is that we gained that critical stakeholder buy-in across the business that enabled us to scale. So that data literally unlocked the conversations we needed to get that buy-in for the company's first ever affiliate channel. And so fast forward to my arrival here at CJ, and by the way, I'm so thrilled to see that Comcast programs continue to evolve and thrive. I was so curious how data needs may differ in programs that were perhaps more mature. And so here at CJ, we see brands of all sizes really being tasked with that holistic cross-channel measurement. But sometimes traditional models do not always align. And if you take media mix modeling, or MMM, as an example, brands here, many of you probably are commonly leveraging this as a way to estimate your marketing spend. And it is quite a valuable tool as a look back. But it does have some limitations, and it usually does rely on impression level data that is not often captured in our channel. Sometimes this may lead to affiliate being either absent or perhaps underrepresented. And so here I think the great news is that media measurement does not have to be one size fits all. And CJ, your partner, has a great, valuable, robust suite of insights and reporting to help you round out the bigger picture. In fact, we just, in my portfolio, leveraged some of this benchmarking and opportunity analysis with a major US retailer that compelled the CMO to unlock additional investment, enabling affiliate to scale now across the full customer journey. And that was really exciting. So Amy, I know you've got a lot of similar examples during your time here at CJ. Care to share?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Funny that, isn't it? I'm going to show a few examples. But it's really interesting what you're saying about channel measurement and the opportunities that come with that. And I think sometimes in client development, we're all part account management and then part detective, trying to find all the answers that we need to unlock our conversations with our advertiser. And one tool that's really, really helped with that detective work has been journey reporting. And I know everyone's heard a lot about it this week or those last few days because it's such a compelling suite of tools that everyone is super excited about it. But with affiliate customer journey and cross-channel journey, what they've really helped us get a better understanding of that more holistic measurement. And I'm personally a big fan of these tools because I really wish I'd had them earlier in my career. I often lacked the holistic data for optimization as we only saw sales at the point of conversion. And most of the time, when I was at Nike, I was making decisions without any data to support them. I was doing it from the good of my own heart, knowing that it was serving a bigger purpose. And my team, were heavily investing in content and influencer campaigns that were supporting many different brand and commerce initiatives. And I would be consistently being asked by my manager at the time, like, what are the benefits of these campaigns? And, why is ROI so low? Why are we investing? And if I'd had a better understanding of the complete customer journey, my conversations would have been a little bit easier to have because I would have been able to really unlock the conversation with the data and then justify the spend and then ultimately, allow us to get more investment in these initiatives and these activities. So what I really wish I'd had was the customer journey reporting that you see here on screen. As I say, it's affiliate customer journey and cross-channel reporting because they really show the impact of the partner beyond the last click. And these reports can really confirm how, a partnership has contributed to the wider goals of the business. Yeah. And so, for instance, we had an advertiser working for us with our CGI team, the campaign that had very heavy influencer investment, and customer journey and channel journey reporting have, really helped measure the halo effect of these campaigns, and they're leading to more informed investment decisions. So everything from the influencers that they're looking to recontract with, through to the types of deliverables that they actually want to focus on. And crucially, these reports have shown the wider impact of the investment from discovery through to conversion across all channels. And the team were able to leverage the data and then crucially advocate the impact of the activity and then gain additional investment into this activity as there was tangible data to show the impact of the campaign across the entire marketing ecosystem. So these are the kind of reports that really come to mind when I think about unlocking data and unlocking conversation because they really really help with that.
Yeah. There's a lot to unpack there, really great stuff, but clearly a huge opportunity for advertisers of all sizes, many of you, to put the data to work for them. And so, again, in our call to action, in bringing this back to your business when you return to the office next week, a few takeaways. So we highly recommend that you lean in and look at benchmarking, which can reveal how your brand looks to likely competitors and potentially uncover or highlight additional opportunities. Consider that test and learn may uncover new tactics, new partnerships that you had never considered before. And then finally, take some time to really explore CJ's reporting suite and understand how customers are engaging with publishers on their path to purchase. And so that brings us to our final and most common outcome, which is using data to shape your story and to ultimately sell. Now, this can mean selling internally with your internal stakeholders or outside the company with partnerships and customers. And you have my most favorite example for this one.
I think it's probably my favorite example that I came to CJU with. So when I was at Nike, we often had key product priorities, and we would always look to our affiliate partners to help sell them. We would offer some comp products, and we'd offer some investment to the publisher to help with production and promotion costs. And we thought it was a pretty good deal. So what you need to know is that the publishers that we were working with, some of them were extremely data savvy. So they would know their social metrics, their Google Trends data, their on-site data, open rates, purchase rates. They would know it all inside and out because they really wanted to truly understand what it was that their audience wanted and what they needed, because they needed to maintain relevancy and they wanted to make sure that they were being authentic. So this great deal that I was telling you about, actually, it was a pretty terrible deal because the product that we were offering, this publisher realized that actually their audience wasn't engaging in that product at all. So for them to take the comp product and the investment for that product, well, it wouldn't have done very well, and it would have been a waste of time, and it would have been a waste of money. And crucially, it would have been really, really detrimental to the publisher to promote it because it would have harmed their relevancy. So what the publishers did with that information and the data was the most compelling example that I have, because they use all of that data to then pitch back to us and resell to us. And so what they then did was that they asked us for the product that they knew that their audience would want and what they were looking for, and they would have a really meaningful conversation with us about the needs of their audience. And they were essentially advocating for them, their audience, and pitching back to us at every available opportunity. And it resulted, over the 3 years that I was there, in a very mutually beneficial partnership. And what we found was that publishers who were advocating for themselves and their audience's unique selling points really left a lasting impression on us as a business, but also it really helped them succeed because they were, as I say, maintaining that relevancy throughout that conversation. And what I will say is, as I've come into CJ, what I'm seeing in client development is that advertisers who are truly understanding this and understanding that publishers who are leveraging their audience in that way and listen to the feedback and work with them are the ones that are seeing the most growth in the channel. So there's clearly a huge opportunity for advertisers and publishers to collaborate more effectively to maximize their growth and opportunity outside of them just knowing the data and then having these conversations about promotional tactics. But what I will say is there are a few things that you can do if you're an advertiser to really help with those conversations. And the first one is fortifying your CJ integration. For me, that's probably the most important thing that I can say on this stage, because the better the integration and the more data that you can give back to the publishers, the more meaningful the conversations can be with your publishers, because they have all the information that they need to have that conversation with you. And not only that, you will get expanded targeting opportunities and increased insights through CJ as well. The other thing that I also think doesn't get enough credit when you're trying to sell to a publisher as an advertiser is really focusing on the things that publishers need to hear. So anything from your commission rates or your ECPC, payment timelines, and conversion rates, they're equally as important as just booking the placements themselves, because they're important metrics. And what I would say is, if you're a publisher in the room, obsess your customer behavior and use that data to have the meaningful conversations to align with your advertisers and help your growth. I cannot stress this enough. Be your own advocate to work with the advertisers to get what you need.
Fantastic. So with that, we're so excited to see how you'll take back some of these learnings into your own organizations, both on the advertiser side and on the publisher side, and help leverage some of the ideas that we've surfaced and touched on today. Our CJ team looks forward to partnering with you to help you debunk, unlock, and sell, and transform your marketing engine. And with that, we'll give you a little bit of time back. We hope you enjoy the rest of the conference, and thank you so much for joining us.